History is full of twists and turns. But what if there's more to the story? I'm James Mackay, and on History Unfiltered, we dig deep into the moments that change the world, but often don't get told as they should. Espionage, spies, secrets, covert missions. These are often associated with modern warfare, but what if I told you that the ancient Romans were masters of these same tactics long before the age of James Bond? Welcome to History Unfiltered. Hello, and welcome to History Unfiltered, the podcast where we uncover the hidden truths of the past, unravel the stories the history books leave out, and reveal the unseen threads that shaped our world. I'm James Mackay, and today we're going deep into the shadows of ancient Rome to explore a fascinating topic: espionage and intelligence in one of the most powerful empires the world has ever known. Now, when we think of ancient Rome, we picture grand battles, towering monuments, and powerful emperors. But behind those majestic triumphs were intelligence networks, spies, and covert operations that helped the Romans maintain control over their vast empire. This was a secret war, a world of shadowy figures working tirelessly to protect the empire's interests, uncover plots, and outwit their enemies. I know it's easy to assume that intelligence gathering and espionage are relatively modern inventions, but in reality the Romans were already using sophisticated spy tactics centuries before the modern age. But before you picture someone like James Bond in a suit with one of those Centurion helmets with the kind of brush on the top, it's not about that at all. So while the CIA, MI6 and even private mercenary groups like Blackwater dominate headlines of the modern age, the Roman Empire had its own version of spies, many of whom operated right under the noses of their enemies. Today we're going to explore how the Romans utilised spies, informants and covert operations to protect their empire, crush rebellion and stay ahead of their rivals. So let's start with the basics. So espionage in ancient Rome was deeply embedded in the military and political structure. It wasn't just about spying on foreign enemies, they also dealt with internal surveillance. Rome was always under threat, both from external forces like rival empires and from within, from rebellious provinces and political rivals. The Roman Senate and military leaders were quick to develop intelligence networks. They used scouts, informants, and sometimes even normal citizens to gather crucial information. They found that ordinary civilians were the best people to use, in fact, people with local knowledge or inside connections. The Romans were known for using a variety of sources for information, people who lived in conquered territories or even those who worked for the enemy. In fact, many times the Romans would infiltrate enemy ranks by bribing or coercing lower ranking soldiers in order for them to act as informants. These informants could be paid for their loyalty and certainly given protections in return for valuable intelligence. Which to me sounds a lot like modern intelligence agencies that recruit people in foreign territories to spy for them. So espionage was a big part of the Roman military campaign, whether that was at home or abroad. I guess you could kind of say that they were a bit like today's drones or satellite surveillance, but a lot more risk involved. Certainly for an ordinary citizen or even a soldier, if a Roman spy was caught, they knew they would face severe punishment, which was often execution. That said, spies in ancient Rome were also respected in their own right. Some even became famous for their bravery and cunning. One example is the infamous spy Fabius Maximus, who used a network of informants during the Second Punic War to track the movements of Hannibal. I'm sure you've heard of Hannibal when it comes to ancient Rome. He was the chap with the elephants. But he was also one of the greatest military tacticians in history. His surprise crossing of the Alps to invade Italy was a huge shock to the Roman Empire. So how did Fabius Maximus use intelligence to counter such a formidable threat? Fabius Maximus was known for his cautious approach during the war with Hannibal. While other Roman generals rushed to meet him in battle, Fabius understood the importance of gathering intelligence. His scouts and spies were crucial in ensuring that he could anticipate Hannibal's movements, allowing him to avoid direct confrontation while harassing Hannibal's forces with guerrilla tactics. This strategy of delay eventually wore down Hannibal's army, and while it wasn't a quick victory, it ultimately contributed to Rome's eventual success. So I guess what we're talking about really is real-time intelligence. Almost like the Romans were using ancient versions of reconnaissance satellites and field agents. Now, internal surveillance, which I'm going to expand on now, which is more about how the Romans spied on their own citizens or used citizens to spy within their own ranks. So, of course, espionage in ancient Rome wasn't just for fighting wars or foreign invasions. There was a significant amount of internal surveillance, especially during periods of political instability. Roman emperors were always wary of rebellion, conspiracy, or even assassination attempts. One of the most famous figures associated with espionage with Rome itself was Emperor Tiberius. Tiberius, of course, was an emperor known for his paranoia and his secretive rule. He employed a network of informants and spies to keep an eye on the Senate, his political opponents, and even members of his own family. His reign saw widespread use of spies, and anyone suspected of disloyalty could be accused of conspiracy and executed. His reign marked a turning point where espionage within the empire became not just a tool for military strategy, but a way to control the empire itself. I'm sure you'll agree that's quite a chilling thought though. Spies everywhere, keeping tabs on citizens, neighbours, and even family members. It seems like Tiberius took the art of intelligence to a whole new level. And I guess he wasn't just trying to prevent rebellion, he was also trying to maintain his own power. And as with many rulers throughout history, Tiberius probably knew that information was key to survival. By controlling the flow of information, he controlled the empire. And he did so through his spy network. He maintained political control, weeded out potential traitors, and ensured loyalty throughout the empire. And it was a multifaceted tool that served him and the empire in many ways, both on the battlefield and in the halls of power. Now, let's take a closer look at one of the most fascinating groups in the Roman intelligence network, the speculatores. These were not just ordinary Roman soldiers, or even just ordinary scouts. While the speculatores initially performed reconnaissance duties, gathering vital information about enemy movements and fortifications, their role evolved significantly over time. In the beginning, the speculatores were very much like early military scouts. They would sneak behind enemy lines to gather information, whether that was about troop strength, the layout of enemy camps, or potential weaknesses that could be exploited, but their role was vital during their military campaigns of the Roman Empire. They were essentially the eyes and the ears of Roman generals, providing critical intelligence before major battles. But over time, their function expanded. The speculatores didn't just stay on the battlefield. They became highly specialised units, often tasked with much more than just reconnaissance. They even evolved into imperial bodyguards, couriers, law enforcers, and sometimes executioners. This transformation can even be traced back to the reign of Emperor Nero. Nero even used them as personal guards, I guess a bit like maybe the Secret Service in America. But following the death of Emperor Nero, the speculatores replaced the previous imperial bodyguard units, like the corporis custodes. This was a significant change because the speculatores were seen as more reliable, loyal, and perhaps a little bit more flexible than the earlier groups. They were able to provide a variety of different roles that went beyond their original military purpose. They were a versatile unit, shifting roles to suit the needs of the empire, depending on the political climate at the time. Another interesting fact is that the speculatores were often recruited from within the Praetorian Guard, especially its cavalry division. The Praetorian Guard, which was essentially the elite unit tasked with protecting the emperor, became a prime recruiting ground for the speculatores. They were already in a position of trust, so it made sense for them to take on more covert duties. But they weren't just spies. They also played an integral part in maintaining the emperor's security, and in this case, especially with Nero, their political power. This meant they helped control the flow of power within the empire. For example, during the year AD 365, a usurper named Procopius sent speculatores to Constantinople to spread rumours about Emperor Valentinian. This covert campaign worked so well that it led to Procopius being declared emperor, although his reign was quite short-lived. This type of propaganda or psychological warfare has been copied many times since, but using spies to manipulate public perception and shape political outcomes was done first in Rome. After this, the speculatores were often used in these kind of subtle ways by spreading rumours, creating distrust, and ensuring that the emperor's rule remained unchallenged. They were a key element in the covert strategies used by Roman emperors to stay in power. And they show really just how intertwined espionage was with the imperial power structure in Rome. They weren't just gathering the intelligence, they were actively shaping the political landscape of the empire. And I guess that highlights how the Roman Empire was always in a state of careful balance, where information and loyalty were just as powerful as military might. And I think it's quite incredible to think that the foundations of modern espionage were laid down so long ago, and the use of spies, informants and covert operations has only evolved since then. Today we have the CIA, MI6 and sophisticated technology, but back then they were relying on human intelligence, deception and personal connections. I guess it's a testament to the strategic thinking of the Romans, and maybe a reminder that the Roman Empire's power wasn't just built on military might. It was also built on the ability to control information, navigate politics and outsmart their enemies, both foreign and domestic. Well, that's all for today's episode. We've uncovered how espionage and intelligence played a key role in maintaining Roman dominance and how they used their own version of secret wars to shape the course of history. Spies, secrecy and surveillance, Roman style. Who knew the ancient world had so much in common with today's intelligence operations? Thanks for joining us on History Unfiltered. We'll be back with more untold stories from the past next week. But until then, remember, history is never just black and white. It's a story that's still being written. Join us next time on History Unfiltered.